welcome on in to Beat the Bookie. And I know what you're thinking, who the heck is this guy? Well, allow me to introduce myself. My name's Johnny Gadamowitz, and today I'm going to win you some serious dough. We've got a loaded slate of college lacrosse coming up for you this weekend. And look, I get it. I know it's not college basketball, not college football, but hey, don't sleep on Lax. Still a prime opportunity to put a nice chunk of change in your pocket. But before we get to my picks, we got to review last week's performance. Beat the Bookie host Will Shea with a pretty solid turnout, but today I'm out to prove that not only is Long Island superior to New Jersey in the pizza and bagel department, but hey, it's the lacrosse capital of the world, so trust me when it comes to these picks. We're topping Will's total profit from last week. Also worth noting, though, last week, before we dive into the lax, we got to do a Masters check-in. Tyler Melito just continues to come on this show, Beat the Bookie, and lose all of you money. Tough day at the office for Tyler, and it's really nothing new. I mean, you see the numbers for Tyler's Beat the Bookie career. When you see that guy on the show, just know you should bet the opposite of whatever he proclaims is going to come to fruition. As far as the standings for the whole semester is concerned, Ben Shulman still pacing the way, although let's give Will Shea a little bit of credit where credit is due. Last week's second best show of the semester. I've got some big shoes to fill, but we'll try to do just that today, and with that, we will hop right in. Let's move over to our big games. We'll kick it off with a little Ivy League action, and boy, how about that Ivy League? 6 teams ranked in the top 20, that's the most of any conference, and 3 in the top 5. And when I look at this Penn-Harvard matchup, I have a hard time not liking the Quakers. Penn coming off of 2 really tight losses to both Yale and Brown, neither of them by more than 2 goals. I think it's a Penn team that deserves to be mentioned in really the same breath as the Princeton, Yales, Cornells, because talent-wise, they're right there. And here's the stat you need to know. The Quakers lead the Ivy League in assists per game. They pick apart opposing defenses. Harvard had a tough time containing Cornell last week, allowing 17. I think that continues this weekend. And speaking of Harvard, I think they've been playing a bit too ahead of themselves. The Crimson have won 6 of the last 7, bound for a reality check. And with the final 3 games of their season all coming against Ivy League opponents that are ranked higher than them, I think that reality check starts this weekend. Let's throw $10 on the Quakers to cover. Next up, we'll shift gears to Cornell, Army, and look, I'll say it, I think the Big Red are a bunch of frauds. I just sang the praises of the Ivy League, and rightfully so, but Cornell doesn't wow me. And I know you say, oh, but Johnny, they're 10-1, riding a 4-game winning streak. Hold the brakes. This is a Cornell team that needed overtime to defeat Syracuse, but it doesn't just stop there. They also barely escaped Dartmouth 8-7, the only unranked Ivy League team. And I'll do you one more. We're trailing at the half against an unranked Penn State squad. Now, Cornell ended up defeating the Nittany Lions, but the point still holds true. The Big Red pick and choose when they want to show up, and against Army, I don't think they have that luxury. I like the Black Knights to cover plus 2.5. We'll put 15 on that. Let's move away from the Ivy for our third big game and step into the Big Ten, where the best team in all the land resides, the University of Maryland Terrapins. UMD appears to be well on their way back to Memorial Day weekend, but don't get it twisted. This Ohio State team is no joke. The number 8 Buckeyes are a lot better than their 8-3 record suggests. I'm not in love with the line here, Maryland minus 5.5, but what does stand out to me, the over-under at 25.5. If there's one thing I know, it's that these teams score a lot of goals more often than not. What's the saying? Good offense beats good defense, and I think that both teams are going to pour it in offensively in what should be a shootout. Maryland leads the Big Ten in goals per game, averaging just over 18. OSU not far behind at just over 14. You do your math, carry the 1, you can check the over box. Maryland hasn't scored under 17 goals in a month and a half, meaning all OSU would need to do is net 9 themselves. I think they do just that. Pound the over to the tune of $10. Now we'll shift gears a little bit, looking at the rest of the weekend's action for some more of my picks. Another intriguing Big Ten matchup on the docket for this weekend. You got Rutgers going up against Michigan. The Scarlet Knights have looked like one of the best teams in the nation these past few weeks. and I think they mean business. They sit at number 7 in the polls, but don't be surprised if they're a Memorial Day weekend team. They're the best team in the Big Ten, not named Maryland. We learned that firsthand last week when the Terps took down Rutgers 17-9. But I think it's the case of a bounce-back game, and the boys in Ann Arbor just having a dismal 2022 campaign. The Wolverines have dropped their last 5 games in a row and are scoring shy of 10 goals a game during that stretch. A line of 3.5 should be no problem for RU. Let's throw 10 on that. Now over to the Patriot League for BU and Loyola. And I want to preface all of this by saying that the Greyhounds of Loyola, Maryland can ball. They're unranked at just 4-4 on the year, but have a lot of close losses to really solid competition. But I got to go with my gut, and my gut tells me this. Hey, it's opening day at Fenway Park this weekend. BU's campus right across the street. Put on some Dropkick Murphys and Roll Terriers. I think a big reason why boils down to possession. BU's face-off guy, 60% on the year from the X, including a game this year where he went 32 for 34 on the day. Plus, the Terriers sort of need this game. They've dropped 2 straight over the past 2 weeks to 2 very formidable Ivy League opponents in Yale and Princeton. Let's go $5 on BU. Now let's check out what's going on in the ACC, and it's no secret, you've been hearing it all year. It's been a down year for the conference, and 2 teams that know that all too well are Syracuse and UNC. Good news for one of them is that somebody's got to win this weekend, and I like the Tar Heels to cover. Look, everything has gone wrong for UNC these past 2 weeks. Against UVA, against Duke, the Heels combined for just 10 goals. And I know you can play the common opponent game and say Syracuse took down Duke while UNC was smoked by the Blue Devils. But this pick is more about Syracuse than it is Carolina. The Orange are just a different team on the road. I don't know why, I don't know how, but Gary Gates' squad only boasts 1 road victory all year compared to 4 losses. In those 5 games, they scored just 10 goals per game and allowed 15, going down to a hostile Chapel Hill environment. I'm fading the Qs big time, $10 on North Carolina to cover. Now to the lock of the week. Stop me if you've heard this before. Roll Tar Heels. We already put $10 on the UNC spread of -3. I'm so confident. I'm not going to double down. I'm going to triple down. Let's throw another 20 on the Heels, and why not? Look, they're led by one of the best coaches in D1 lacrosse in Joe Bresci. Let's show UNC some love. They're all the way down at 15 in this week's USILA poll. Although they're still searching for that first elusive ACC win, they've proven themselves in the non-con, wins over Brown, Hopkins, and Denver. More importantly, though, Syracuse is banged up. A weird sort of Monday game for the Orange back on Monday night against Cornell. And on the road, you know, Syracuse does not like to take care of business. I don't think they're going to do that in UNC. I like UNC and I like the Tar Heels a lot. That's my lock of the week. Now, how about an underdog? I told you before I like Army to cover the +2.5, traveling to Ithaca for a date with Cornell. Well, now I'll do you one further. I like Army outright to win this game. The Black Knights schedule doesn't really afford them a ton of opportunities against top-tier teams, so when they do play someone out of conference outside the Patriot League in a non-con battle, they better be ready. I expect them to do just that. The 1-2 punch of Brendan Nickturn, Bobby Abshire. They've caused matchup nightmares on opposing defenses all season long, and the Big Red are their next victim. Look, Ivy League teams got to start losing eventually, right? That starts this weekend for the Big Red. Give me $10 on the Black Knights money line. Next up, let's go to a game you've never heard of. We'll go over to the SoCon. Look, I'll be honest, it's a game I barely even heard of before I did my homework on it, but I'm confident in my pick, and it's unranked Mercer going up against number 19 Richmond. The Spiders did take down Virginia 2 weeks ago, but couldn't follow it up against Jacksonville last week. I like Richmond. How could you not after a win over the defending national champs earlier in the year? But 6.5 is a tough line, and I think Mercer keeps it close enough to cover. You can play the common opponent game. Each team has seen Hampton University pretty recently over the past few weeks, and you got a pretty similar result. Richmond with a 15-goal win, Mercer with a 16-goal win. I'm not saying I put 4-8 Mercer nearly on the same pedestal as a ranked Richmond team, but I do think they keep it close enough to cover the 6.5. Let's throw 5 on that. Finally, a little parlay action. I think a team that does cover a line of 6.5 this weekend is Princeton, going up against Dartmouth. The Big Green are in over their heads with this year's Ivy League. A little bit of a younger squad, 0-3 in conference play. I think they finish 0-6 in conference play and are easily handled by Princeton this weekend. Another game we haven't touched on yet is Lehigh and Colgate. The Raiders don't really have a whole lot going for them right now. Just 2-8 on the season, 1-4 in the Patriot League. I'd be stunned if they pull off the upset against a ranked Lehigh team that has rattled off 3 straight wins. I'll take Lehigh money line. Now, final leg of the parlay, let's roll with the over in Denver and St. John's. It's at 22.5 right now. Neither of these teams score a ton of goals, and the line certainly reflects that. But I think you see enough offense in this game to cross that threshold. Both goalies under 50% on the year. Some suspect defense, particularly on the St. John's end. Expect Denver to do their part offensively, with St. John's pouring in just enough for the over to cash $5 on that parlay. So to recap, big games. I like Penn to cover against Harvard, Army plus 2.5. And you continue on in what hopefully is a pretty good day for us. I like the over in Maryland OSU as well. Elsewhere, I got Rutgers covering minus 3.5 over Michigan, Boston University outright to beat Loyola, and those UNC Tar Heels. We're tripling down on Carolina to beat Syracuse. That's my lock of the week. I like Army as an underdog, not just to cover the 2.5, but to win outright going up against Cornell. Mercer going to lose to Richmond, but they'll lose by 6 goals or less. And then finally, the can't lose parlay. Princeton covers, and you see they take care of business against Dartmouth. Lehigh money line over Colgate, and the over in Denver and St. John's out in the Big East. That's going to do it for this edition of Beat the Bookie. Thanks so much for tuning in to this week's edition. Lacrosse season in full swing and a prime opportunity for you to capitalize. Best of luck, and we'll catch you next week.